Okay, you ready? I said in the course of this next class, we'd practice the basic conversation again, the polite conversational expressions, but this time you would take the initiative, you would start, and I would respond. And so let's see how well you do. Watch the indications on the screen to guide you as to what you'd say to me. Okay, here we go. Buenos días. Así, gracias. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. Me llamo Steve Nesbitt. ¿Cómo te llamas? Perdón, se me olvidó. ¿Cómo te llamas? Igualmente. Bueno, tengo 61 años. ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cómo? ¿Tienes algo para mí? ¿Qué es? Oh, un lápiz. Muchas gracias por este lápiz. Es tan bonito. Me va a servir, eso es cierto. Yo también tengo algo para ti. Es una pluma. Sírvete. Oh, no hay de qué. Oh, tienes que salir. Adiós. Okay. Not bad, but you got to know both sides of the conversation. How to start, how to respond, how to initiate, how to respond. Because you don't want to be a passive conversationalist in France. You want to be in France, in a Spanish-speaking country, because you want to be a person who can take the initiative. Okay. Now, you may have noticed that I'm infusing a great deal of vocabulary into your life right now. And this vocabulary, some of it might seem a little extraneous, a little something like kind of an eclectic collection of vocabulary terms. The general theme for Unit 1 is the classroom. And so you'll more and more you'll be introduced to words that deal with things that you find in the classroom. Not like dogs and cats. That's true. Some of the vocabulary is just so that you can use the new verbs that you're learning. But a lot of it is going to focus around the vocabulary of the classroom. And as you're learning this vocabulary, you may have already noticed that as I say the word, as you see me pronouncing it, you're hearing el or la before each of these nouns, these things about which we're speaking. For example, we just talked about one. El lápiz, or la pluma. Or I could take other items. Well, I'll explain that in a second. Now, what is this el and this la? Are these actually part of the noun? Is that part of the word itself? No. These are the word, if you were to translate them to English, the word the. They're called definite articles. And when you learn vocabulary, you always want to say the definite article, the word the, before that noun as you learn it. Now why is that? It's because nouns in Spanish and other, what they call the Romance languages, French, Romanian, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese, these languages, for them, nouns are all called masculine nouns or feminine nouns. Now, the term masculine and feminine does correspond to male and female when the noun you're talking about refers to a person or a creature of some kind, which is male or female. But generally speaking, masculine and feminine doesn't really refer to male or female. This pencil is not male, and this pen, wherever it went, is not female. The term masculine and feminine these are just grammatical terms, which really I could have said just as easily group A, nouns of group A, or nouns of group B. The term masculine and feminine shouldn't throw you. It's just a way to classify, to break nouns into two different kinds. And so why is it important to know if a noun is called masculine or feminine, or type A or type B? It's because, first of all, the article which precedes them, the word the, will be different depending upon if the noun is masculine or feminine. Again, let me take a couple different examples. This is el cepillo. El is the masculine article, definite article, meaning the. El cepillo, but this is la llave. So cepillo is a masculine word, a masculine noun. Llave is a feminine noun. And so I say el before one, but la before the other. In fact, you haven't heard just el and la. On a few occasions, rare occasions, you've heard the plural of el, which is los. For example, los dulces. Los dulces. You've also heard las. For example, I was talking about movies. The plural movie is the película. The plural of movie is películas, and the plural way to say the or la is las. So I say los dulces and las películas. You've heard those on a few occasions. So knowing whether a noun is masculine or feminine, singular or plural, makes a difference in the word the, which is going to precede it. But it also makes a difference in other words called indefinite articles. A, an, some, and the. A, an, and some. Un becomes, what is un? What is una? Have you heard those already? Yes, you have. You heard, for example, on a couple occasions, I've needed, because it only made sense, to use the indefinite articles, un or una, which means a, or would correspond to an in English, because it wouldn't have made sense to say the. For example, when I said, do you live in a house or in an apartment? I didn't say, do you live in the house or the apartment? I said, do you live in a house or an apartment? And so I said, ¿vives en una casa o en un apartamento? A casa is feminine, and I say una to express the idea of a house. And apartamento is a masculine word. I use the word un before apartamento to correspond to the idea of an apartment. Okay? So I don't expect you to master, to understand all that I'm telling you right now. I'm just giving you a little introduction to a topic that will be developed in great detail in lesson 1.17 and thereafter throughout the rest of the unit. You'll have lots of practice working with these definite and indefinite articles throughout the rest of the unit 1. But I just want to mention also this, knowing if a word is masculine or feminine. If I say, for example, let me take something different here. Teléfono celular o celular. Este es mi celular. Is it a masculine or a feminine noun? Well, at this point, you don't know. I'll tell you, it's el celular. So it's masculine. It's a masculine noun. Knowing that it's masculine and that wallet, la cartera, is a feminine noun, is important not just for the word the or a, an, and some. It's also important if you have a word that describes these things. For example, a new, or let's say, let me change it. I'll say a black cell phone, okay? Un celular negro. I would say un celular negro, referring to this cell phone, but talking to about the black wallet here, I'd say la cartera o una cartera negra. Negra. So here I describe the color of this item as negro. Here I describe the same color as negra. O a. So those are called adjectives, of course. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. And so knowing the form the adjective is to take when it describes a certain noun is going to be impacted by your knowledge of whether it's a masculine or a feminine word, whether it's singular or plural. Okay? Well, as I mentioned, we'll be working on this throughout the rest of the unit. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'd say you and I are about equal. You'll be fine. You get lots of practice with this whole concept. There's another concept that we really should spend some time with in the course of this particular lesson, and that's the use of this verb right here, gustar. Gustar. Gustar causes lots of trouble, unfortunately, because its structure is not like that of most any other verb in Spanish. There are a few others handled like it, but for the most part, you have a subject, yo, or tú, or él, or ella, or usted, and it's followed by a verb, and you adapt the verb, of course, to whatever that subject happens to be. Well, gustar is not handled in the same way. We don't use yo, or tú, or él, or ella, or usted, as you've already noticed, undoubtedly. We use a series of pronouns which are called indirect object pronouns. Who cares what they're called? Me, te, le, or le. Now, instead of saying yo, when we're talking about something which I like, is pleasing to me, which brings me pleasure, instead of saying yo with gustar, I say me, and then the verb gusta. Instead of saying tú, I say te with gustar, I say te gusta. Instead of saying él or ella, I use this pronoun, le gusta. And instead of saying usted, I also say le gusta. And so the verbs would sound like this. If I wanted to say that I like something, I would say me gusta. If I want to say that you like something, I'd say te gusta. If I would want to say that he or she likes something, I'd say le gusta, and you le gusta as well. Okay. By the way, there are 3 different le gustas, aren't there? He likes something, she likes something, and you, formal, you respectfully like something. How do we keep it straight as to what the person is talking about? Well, there are 2 ways. The first is by context. The person you're speaking with will know about whom you're speaking because of the prior conversation you'd been having. If I were talking about Bill over here, you'd know that I'm talking about Bill, and in my next sentence, if I said le gusta jugar fútbol, he likes to play soccer, you would know that le was referring to Bill because we've been talking about him. So context is the first clue. But there is a second way. In case you have any concern that there's going to be a misunderstanding on the part of your listener, if I want to say that she likes, I would say le gusta. And if I want to say he likes, I'd say le gusta. So how do I distinguish between the two? For example, I can just take, I'll use soccer as an example. Let's say I want to say she likes soccer. I can say, to start off, to clarify about whom I'm talking, a ella le gusta el fútbol. By contrast, if I want to say that he likes something, to show the difference between this le gusta for the girl and le gusta for the guy, I can say a él le gusta el fútbol. And if I want to say that you, sir, you like soccer, I would say a usted. That's the clarifier to make it clear what the le refers to. A usted le gusta el fútbol as well. Okay? Well, in any case, that's not all you need to know about gustar. Now, you may have noticed I'm saying gusta, whether I'm saying me gusta, or te gusta, or le gusta. Gusta is not changing. Why isn't there an O in there? Why isn't there a S? Why isn't there because it's not handled like other verbs whatsoever. Let me just simplify and say this. Generally speaking, you will only hear gusta in 2 forms, gustar in 2 forms. Gusta or gustan. If the thing the person likes or is favorable to is singular, there's only one thing the person likes, you say gusta. If there are 2 things the person likes, you will say, or 2 or more, plural, gustan. So, for example, if I want to say that she likes soccer, I would say le gusta. Soccer is singular, there's only one sport. Le gusta el fútbol. But if I'm talking about this boy who likes both soccer and basketball, I would say le gustan el fútbol y el básquetbol, or el baloncesto. Okay, so there are 2 sports, and so I say gusta. Let me give you another example. She likes vegetables, and he likes, I don't know, what's something singular we've studied? Fish. Okay. So talking about the boy, I'd say le gusta el pescado, because fish is singular. Le gusta el pescado. But for the girl, I would say le gustan las verduras, because vegetables are plural. So gusta or gustan are essentially the only 2 forms of gustar you will hear. Got that mastered? No. Well, at the beginning of lesson 1.17, what we'll do is, in addition to talking a little bit more about these articles, a, and, some, and the, un, una, unos, unas, el, la, los, las, in addition to talking a little bit more about those, we'll also do some exercises with gustar together before I set you loose on that particular lesson. I've talked a lot, and I may have said a lot of things that just passed you by entirely. Don't worry. Do you think that a Hispanic little boy at the age of 2 or 18 months, as he was learning to speak, received instruction of the nature you're receiving from me right now? No. He or she learned to speak very fluently without the kind of things I'm explaining to you right now. Experience, practice, exposure. will get you where you need to be. So as you enter lesson 1.16 now, it's a very workmanlike chapter. It's a chapter in which you're learning nothing new, essentially. You're just reviewing material you've already learned, but you're perfecting it. You're perfecting it. As you enter this lesson, apply yourself with diligence and to be observant, listen, imitate. You'll learn far more from doing that than from listening to my half-baked explanations. All right, I'll talk to you again in the next class. Adiosito.